Another week of comics are in the books, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my pull list review. I only got 4 books this week. Thankfully, it was a short week for me today. But that being said, there was some pretty solid books this week. If you enjoy the content here, my name is Alex. This is Graphic Novel Collector, and consider subscribing if you like almost daily comic book content. But with all that YouTuber stuff out of the way, let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into this one. And we start with the pick of the week, because I only had 4 books, so I'm not going to do a top 3. But we have the pick of the week, which is Deadpool Wolverine Weapon Extraction by Ryan North and artist Javier Garrón, and colorist was Edgar Dialgo. Holy smokes, this book was absolutely hilarious. And if you've been watching the channel, you know I'm a fan of Ryan North's Fantastic Four run that is currently ongoing over at Marvel. And oh my gosh, you all, this was hilarious. It was an absolutely funny, amazingly drawn and colored book. But basically the story in this book is Wolverine walks into a bar and Deadpool is there. Wolverine's like, wait a second, I'm leaving, I don't like Deadpool. And then of course Deadpool comes back over, and then all of a sudden a portal opens up and they get slung throughout the multiverse. And the quips and the jokes in this book are absolutely hilarious. Ryan North is an amazing comedy writer. Now, one thing I don't like about contemporary Deadpool books typically is, I don't know, the jokes are just extremely like low-hanging fruit jokes that come off as kind of just the lowest common denominator jokes. And unfortunately, I do like Deadpool as a character, and I really enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine, the new movie that came out, of course. But that being said, I think a lot of contemporary Deadpool writers don't write Deadpool very funny at all. And they've kind of flanderized him and made him become this caricature of the character that we all knew and loved from back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Personally, I was a fan of like Jerry Dugan and Brian Posehn's run back, I think in like the early 2000s, maybe early 2010s, I don't know. But regardless, talking about this book, the quips are funny, the jokes land for me, the art is amazing. But basically in this book, they are going through different universes, and what we learn inside the pages, there was one where they're in a zombie multiverse. They get into a rom-com universe where everybody is like trying to hook up with everybody, and it's a romantic comedy. And of course, Deadpool is like super about that. But basically in this story, this is a one-shot, by the way, we see these two going through the multiverses, and basically we get introduced or reintroduced to a little girl who is essentially like a god. And yeah, she's like, in all my other universes, you two are best friends, so why aren't you two best friends? Anyways, I'm not going to spoil any more of it. I feel like that's a pretty good gist of the storyline, but I really enjoyed this. And as someone who is extremely critical of modern Deadpool stories, this worked. They took what Ryan North took, the, I guess you want to call it the sauce that the movie kind of developed, and he basically puts, this is the movie, but with a different overarching setting and plot. But these feel like Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in comic book form, which personally I really enjoyed. So yeah, Deadpool, Wolverine, Weapon Extraction, issue number 1. It was a one-shot. It is setting up for Deadpool Wolverine, the comic book coming out in 2025. However, Ryan North is unfortunately not on that book. I forget who the writer and who the creative team is on that book. If you know, if you want to let me know in the comment section. But Deadpool Wolverine, Weapon Extraction. And of course, it's like the stupidest title on the planet. But Deadpool Wolverine, Weapon Extraction, issue number 1 was my pick of the week. It was hilarious. And yeah, I don't typically find Deadpool funny anymore. But sticking with the Marvel universe, we have Miles Morales, Spider-Man, issue number 27. And this is by Cody Ziegler, who's been doing a pretty darn good job, in my opinion, writing this story, and Daniel DiNicuolo, and the color artist is Brian Valencia. So I don't know. I feel like, so first off, the art in this book, Daniel DiNicuolo, drawing faces is his strong suit. Like, the faces in this book were awesome. We have here, this is Shift pretending to be Miles in class, and as you can see, he's under some distress. Basically, Shift is covering for Miles while Miles goes to Wakanda. As we saw in the resolution of the last issue, Black Panther is going to take Miles to Wakanda to try and finally cure him of his insatiable bloodlust, because he's a vampire now. And although I do like this book, I think that overall, let's wrap it up. Let's go home. Let's get to the conclusion of this book. They get to Wakanda, and of course, we don't get to see Wakanda a whole lot. At least I don't. I'm not a big Black Panther reader, but basically they go to this Bishia Rui, the Soul Tree, to try and see if Miles is going to be worthy enough to be able to get the opportunity to get cured. So I feel like kind of at this point, unfortunately, Cody Ziegler is just trying to buy time. I'm not sure exactly what's on the horizon for Miles. Again, this isn't a bad book by any means, and I really do like the way that Cody Ziegler writes Miles and the other characters inside this book. But overall, for me, this book just, it's dragging at this point, unfortunately. I'm still going to read it. I really love the characters, and I really love the characterization from Cody Ziegler. And the art is really good, especially in this issue. I really like the character design, and again, the facial expressions in this one, like throughout the entire thing. It's just super, super solid. Like, even the supporting characters you see there, like with the facial expressions, it's just good stuff art-wise all the way around. But I really do think that Ziegler needs to wrap up this storyline. And I don't know if it's an editor thing, like we're trying to string this out and have Miles be a vampire, until whenever. But for me, either let's let him be a vampire for the foreseeable future, or let's get on with it and let's cure him, because I'm running out of patience with this. But overall, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Spider-Man, issue 27, I'm going to give 2.5 stars. Not a bad book, not a terrible book, but is dragging a bit. And with Deadpool Wolverine, my star rating, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to give 4.5 stars. This book was hilarious. I loved it. All right, kicking it over to DC. Obviously, I only had 4 books this week. We have Absolute Superman issue number 2. This is by Jason Aaron and the Sandoval on the art. Still good. Can't say that. We get a little bit more backstory on Kal-El and his family. It's so funny. So you know how generative text is kind of a thing now, and schools are trying to crack down on it. Well, in this issue, we learned that on Krypton, it is incentivized. You are incentivized to use generative generative text. And Kal-El, while doing a book report or something, wrote it himself, and his teacher's like, wait, you wrote it? We have this technology, you should be using it. So that's pretty funny. But we kick it back to Earth, and Lois Lane, of course, a part of the Peacemakers group, or the, what was it, Lazarus group, trying to contain, obviously in the last panel of the last book, she handcuffed herself to Superman. And basically, this book, we start to see and learn that, well, Lois Lane might have a thing for old Superman here. And Lois Lane decides she needed to write a report on him. And basically, she's saying that he's a kind man that they don't really need to worry about, right, as a organization. However, what was it called? The Brainiac algorithm? Kind of weird stuff. But the Brainiac algorithm kind of just completes her words for her and kind of does the report for her, kind of like, generative text. But she's like, no, he can't be controlled. He's not a threat, is what she's about to say. And it said, agent advises termination. Like, so the AI thinks that Superman's a threat that needs to be taken care of. And then there's just so many funny little quips about that. But basically, we're seeing Lois Lane really try to, not try, but she starts to fall for Superman within the pages of this book. Good issue. This does the whole modern comic book thing that I kind of hate. And the one thing that I really loved about Deadpool Wolverine was it was a complete self-contained story. Ryan North's really good at that, especially in his Fantastic Four run. This, and a lot of modern comics, it's not just this comic, but we don't get a lot of substance in this book. Basically, we get a little bit of literally a page and a half, one page of backstory, and then we pick up in this exact same scene from the last book where she handcuffed Superman, and then he protects her for 5 or 6 pages, protects some civilians, and then she does her report. And then at the very end, there's a thing that happens. I'm not going to spoil it, but just very much not a whole lot happening. Not a lot of time is passing, and I get it. They're writing for the trade or whatever, but I wish that more things happen, more consequential things happen, and we wouldn't be necessarily writing for the trade. This book does show you that Lazarus Corp and the Peacemaker Corps, or whatever you want to call it, they are definitely the villains. Like, make no mistake about it, this does have, excuse me, this does have some commentary on modern corporate structure and how they put corporate profits over the well-being of human beings that may or may not be working for them. So I really like the commentary in this book and the overarching theme of the first 2 issues. I wish that we were moving at a quicker pace. That being said, 3.5 stars. This is a solid book. Absolute universe. I'm liking all the books. People want to debate which is best, which is worst. I liked Batman. I think it is my favorite. It's just an out there, wacky, dumb, fun tale. Superman's been awesome as well, and then Wonder Woman, real fun too. But 3 stars, solid book. But much like a lot of books these days, let's keep it rolling. Speaking of keeping it rolling, we have Batman. This is issue 155 by Chip Zdarsky and who is this? Jorge Fornes. Jorge Fornes' art is not that of Jorge Jimenez. That being said, I do like the stylistic approach that Jorge Fornes takes. And it reminds me of Chris Samney a little bit. And I might get some hate for that. And people, because I know Chris Samney's like amazing. But this does give me like Chris Samney vibes. It's got heavy outlines and then just some stylized. And I love the character design of Batman. It kind of reminds me of Pattinson from Robert Pattinson from the Batman, the new movie that came out a couple years ago. But basically in this book, Jim Gordon no longer with the GCPD. He is now a private investigator, and basically he is working a ton of cases that are insurance scams and, as he calls them, infidelity cases, and says it's depressing. Harvey Bullock working with him, and basically his mark or his target or the person he's investigating, or rather not investigating, but he's working for, is the mayor's wife. And they share an experience here where she almost gets killed. From there, her and Gordon kind of fall in love, I guess, and Gordon goes to confront the mayor, Savage Vandal, and basically he gets shot and killed. Savage Vandal does. And of course, prime suspect is going to be Gordon. I like this book. Overall, I really like it. You still have Commander Starr in this book. Remember, we met him in a couple issues ago. And he's kind of like, the new guy. We see things with Enigma Tech. And of course, the Riddler's still here trying to basically do a hostile takeover of Wayne Enterprises now that Bruce has found himself a brother. But a lot of moving parts in this book. But we do get to see Batman doing some investigating and some detective work. Like legit, look, he's got even a flashlight and he's going into places, investigating, doing some detective work, and I'm absolutely loving it. This, I think, is the story that Zdarsky has wanted to tell for a long time, but because of all the crossovers and all the things, he hasn't been able to. And you could say that some of those crossovers and what have you and events have been Zdarsky's idea, but I think those have been mandated by DC, not necessarily something that he would have done if he could just be on this book and write his own story. I'm loving this book, though. This issue was really strong. I'm going to go ahead and give it 3.5 stars. 3.5 stars. That's a good score for me. But Batman issue 155, really, really digging where we're heading with this book. Let's go over a review, a recap of all the books. Batman, loving where this is going. Action, jam-packed book, too. Kind of the opposite of Absolute Superman. Like, I feel like I got my money's worth, even though this was $4.99 book or whatever. Yeah, $5. Still loving it. Love that we're getting detective work. Love the subplot, the B plot of Jim Gordon, who done it, what's happening in this book. It does reveal to us what happened, and yeah, I'm really loving Batman. Read it yourself to get the full spoilers. Next up, we did have Absolute Superman. Overall, really liking it, but I just wish that we were moving at a quicker pace and we were revealing more plot points than just like one big reveal at the end of each book. That's kind of getting tiring just in modern comics in general. But overall, what did I say? 2.5 stars? 3 stars? 3 stars. Yeah, 3 stars there. And then we had Miles Morales. This is issue 27, Cody Ziegler. Again, I like characterization from Cody Ziegler. I really want the whole Miles being a vampire thing to wrap up. It's run its course for me, and I'm gonna stick it out till the end of the arc. And hopefully in the next arc, we get something that's got a little bit more meat on the bones. But yeah, 2.5 stars. Fine book. Nothing to write home about. And my pick of the week, as I said, Deadpool Wolverine, Weapon Extraction. Ryan North is hilarious. Knows how to write a good Deadpool book, which I think a lot of contemporary writers just miss the mark. And they flanderize him, and it's just not funny, in my opinion. And in this book, Ryan North writes and maybe it's the pairing, right, of Deadpool and Wolverine together, their odd couple synergy that they have together. But Ryan North writes a good Deadpool, a funny Deadpool, and that's what at his core he needs to be. So there you have it, everybody. There are all the books, only 4 this week, but all the books that I picked up. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. If you did, like the video. Let's chop it up. Let's talk comics in the comment section. Were there any books that I didn't pick up that maybe I should have? I know there was a Two-Face book out there. I know there was some other books. But let me know in the comments section what I should have picked up, or if you agree or disagree about my reviews of any of the books that I picked up. And of course, subscribe if you're new here. I come out with YouTube comment as much as I possibly can here on the channel. And I will be having my end of the year top 10 videos. I'm doing 2 this year. One's going to be top 10 ongoing comics of the year, and one's going to be top 10 graphic novel or, collected editions that I read this year. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you. And of course, keep reading comics, keep collecting comics. I'm Alex. This is Graphic Novel Collector, and I will catch you all on the flippy flop. Adios!